Bear Tiger Podcast, episode 20. I'm Zane Scotland, joined by James Slate.
Howdy doody.
And Josh White.
Hi, mate.
How'd you follow that one?
Oh, God.
Nice. Good to see you, boys. I've been away for a little bit. Had a nice time on my travels. Did actually see Jay on the travels. We did a podcast last week from the same country, but remotely.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
I think it went okay.
Respecting lockdown laws. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it seemed to, the sound was okay. Not as good as this, obviously.
No, but it seemed to work. It was good. We had a good chat.
Yeah, didn't have to look at each other like we get the pleasure of doing right now. Let's get straight into...
Josh has been away.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Well, we're going to get into what's been going on in the world of golf. And
Nice.
We're going to start with the tournament that was going on in Bahrain, the King Hamad Trophy, a prestigious event, which I believe you won before.
No, mate, I haven't.
How many seconds you had, though?
I think I've had a second and a third. And
So-
then another second now.
Yeah, on the 14th edition of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the King Hamad Trophy played in Bahrain at the end of each year, sponsored by His Royal Highness, His Majesty, is that how they term it?
Yeah. Let's go with that one.
Yeah. And yeah, it gets a good field. You used to get a spot into the Moroccan European Tour event, which, but I think since becoming a Rolex event, they've done away with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disappointing, isn't it?
Is there any little Asian tour nudge that comes of it now instead?
Not from what I heard, no. I haven't heard anything.
Still a good prize fund, though. Good field.
Anyway, yeah. worth playing. It's a lovely place, isn't it? Royal Golf Club,
Correct?
which they had played a European Tour event at in the past, where Paul Casey won back in the day, the Bahrain Open.
Yeah, that's it. You see the little photos in the clubhouse
That's
when you're
right.
walking from the change room to the Johan Edfords on there as well. The boy.
Jimenez,
Yeah.
Miguel,
Jiggle my knees.
Jimenez, designed by Colin Montgomery, gets a little bit of, people love it or hate it because the greens are quite drastic. They're really soapy, aren't they?
Yeah, but I like it. They got these bowls in them and whatnot, and they can't have them too fast because they are that severe. But I really like it because you can go and play the golf course on literally 7 days a week, and it feel like you're playing a different golf course from purely the pin positions, and you can mix it up with tees as well. And you can really change it about. And you remember every single hole you play, which for me is a good gauge of a good golf course.
Well, just quickly, most people feel like they're playing a different golf course because they're wanging it in different spots.
Yeah.
You're quite a good player, so need the golf course to give you that back.
Yeah, but it's I like it. But if you're a bit off on your pace putting, or if you struggle to paint a picture on the greens, you're going to struggle.
So it's a desert course, relatively long. Gets a bit windy in the afternoons.
It didn't this time though.
Did it not?
No, it didn't. It was bloody hot as well.
Bloody hot.
Bloody hot.
A bit humid
Humid.
in the Middle East. And if you look across the way, when you play like the fourth or fifth hole, you can see the third or fourth. You can see the sand course next door.
Yeah, the Browns.
Yeah,
Or the,
see the
as they call
Browns.
it, the
So you
greens.
feel very privileged. Almost feels like you feel a little bit like upper class getting to play on a bit of grass.
Yeah,
So 3-round tournament, 2-round cut.
correct.
You breeze through that. Tell us about it. What do you do?
Yeah, so to be honest, as you would have heard on the podcast before, I had a bit of a back issue before I went, and I literally hadn't really played too much, didn't do much practice. And I was taking a client of mine out there to play his sort of first event, get used to travelling in golf and show him the ropes, all that sort of stuff. So I was a bit
Nice.
not too sure how it was going to go, to be honest, but just trying to pull on a bit of experience. So I started on 10, as Zane would know, drivable par 4, drove it greenside, really nice, duffed my chip to 30 feet and 3-putted for a 5.
Cheers.
So I was like, okay, this is the
Fuming.
way it's going to go. So I was a bit worried, and then I managed to hold a 30 foot for an eagle on the next par 5, and I was like, right, okay, maybe there is something here.
I'm back.
I'm back, and then
Love this game.
yeah, just played it really smart, really, on the first day. I just gave myself a bit more room, a bit more leeway, but stayed aggressive to them spots, and managed to pick up some nice birdies, more on the par 5s, being able to get a couple of 2-putts on them, cruise it in at 3 under, and that gave me a little start, and I thought it just sort of shook the rust off a little bit from that first round, and then started the second round, and I just got off to a really hot start. Birdied 2, 3 and 4, parred 5, birdied 6, birdied 7 and birdied 9. So I went through 6 under.
Is it par 35?
Oh yeah, birdied 10 as well.
That's
So
36, yeah.
Yeah, but then I birdied 10, parred 11, parred 12, birdied 13 and 14. So I was 9 under through 14 holes.
Get on that.
And I was like, okay, here we go. I'm really onto something now. So I knew I would be leading that point. And then I went bogey, literally went bogey. And then I managed to birdie 17 to get one back to shoot 8 under. So that gave me a one-shot lead going into the last round, which was nice. And then, in the last round, I was pretty chilled.
Just quickly, so in that eight under par, it'd just be quite interesting for anyone who's, who plays golf. When you've got like a really good round going, what's your mentality for keeping going? Do you think about it? Do you not think about it? Do you have a score in mind, or do you put that out of your mind? Because it is a bit of an art to be able to shoot a low score.
I kind of get excited. I just kind of think, how low can I go here? And I know my
song in your head.
Yeah, how low can I go? But I was, you have them days when you're just hot and you just know your feels there, your awareness there, your pace is good, you're striking it well. So I was like, if anything, I don't step back. I put my foot more down on the gas at the right times. Like I won't get to a stupid hole like when it's playing over par. So you would think, okay, I'm not going to push too much on this one. But on most of the holes, I will just carry on doing what I'm doing. I won't go, I'm 4 now. Like, I'm happy with that. And I'll sit back and I'll just cruise it in. I'll go, no. Like, I'm going to stick to what I'm doing, what my game plan is, and stay aggressive to that and just keep going, really.
So you just do you stick with your same game plan that you would have had anyway?
100%.
And just hope you keep playing well?
Yeah, 100%. But we'll come back to that because that did catch me in the third round. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so in the third round, started off, as you know, when you're leading the tournament, it's a hard one for me. It's something I've always struggled with. I would almost actually prefer to be 1 back instead of 1 ahead when I start, which is stupid. But it's something that I've always sort of managed to get my mindset around, which I birdied the first. So I was like, I'm just going to carry, like we said, with a game plan. I'm going to stick with it and just keep going. So I birdied first in round 3. I had no bogeys, made another birdie on 9, and then I made another birdie on 12. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I'm 3 under, I'm cruising. I didn't know what was going ahead of me. So I had the guys that I was playing with that I was like 3 or 4 ahead of. And then I got to the 15th hole. As you know, is the toughest hole there. There's water all down the left.
It's a long par 4, water down the left. There's a bit of rough on the right, but if you go right, it's a really tricky shot to get to the green because the water goes all the way from the tee all the way to the green, doesn't it?
Yeah, correct.
And the green slopes right to left into that water on the left.
And it's a slight, tiny dog leg to the left, like real small.
It's like a straight version of the 18th at Sawgrass.
Yeah. Very similar to that.
Like the same look, just without the bit of dog leg to it.
Exactly. And then you got that tree that sort of sits on the thing. So I've got there, and I know I've got a bit of a lead. And I'm thinking, what do I? And I've hit this lovely fade with my driver all week. Like I haven't missed a shot, and I've been hitting it long and straight out the middle. And this is where I said I'm not going to change what I'm doing. But what I should have done is just assess the situation that I was in at that time. I've got 4 holes to go. And as you know, if you start it over the water and it doesn't come back early,
you've got to draw it in. If you draw it, at least it goes in late.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this was my issue. And I've started it over the water and it hasn't come back. So I'm now dropping early, and then I've got that tree I've tried to lay up. It's caught the top of the tree, come down right behind the stump of the tree.
Yeah.
Now I've got to chip out.
Cheers.
And I've made 7.
Quite a good 7 then.
So
from getting past the tree.
As you know, my favourite club in my bag is my 5-wood, right? That all I've got to do is just get one down that right-hand side of a 5-wood with that lead.
Yeah. How long's a hole?
It's pretty long, mate. It's right off the back, and it was a bit into wind as well.
Yeah.
It's still with your length fits.
Yeah, but Zane would know. I played with Zane around there in this tournament when I was in contention, and I hit a really nice drive off that hole.
Drawdown, didn't you?
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And that when you get onto a hole like that, you remember. I try and remember some of the good shots I've hit down that, and that popped into my head, and I was like, I hit driver then.
Did you have a caddy?
But it was a different situation. I was pushing, wasn't I? I was trying to catch.
I think you drew it down there.
I did, yeah. It dropped. Put the ball back, put my hands forward.
Yeah.
And so all week, and then I bogeyed the next par 3. I just hit a slightly weak iron shot, went in the bunker, and pin was on top of a tier, tough shot, 20-foot, 2-putted, finished par. And then one of the other guys, Tom Sloman, on the last day, fair play to him, shot 8 under on the last round, which was an absolute great round, fair play to him, and pipped me, so well done. But that getting like, if I could just go, I just can't stop thinking about going back to that 15th hole. Like if I was tournament mentally sharp, not game sharp, just like mentally.
It's also little bits though where
a situation and you want to pit. It's just assessing the situation. I wasn't sharp enough to do that at the time.
Yeah, but like, you know, your game's obviously in a phenomenal place. You've had some wins this year on the Pro-Am Tour. I think it's probably one of them things as well, is if you had a caddy, you know, if you just had that little bit of conversation.
I text Mark after the round. I literally text Mark.
Yeah.
And I said to him, Mark, if I had you on the bag, I would have cruised that event.
Yeah. And it puts value to those your team, doesn't it, and those situations and stuff. But
that was the situation when I said we're keeping your foot on the gas. That was the one where it come back to bite me.
Do you think that's a little bit different to like when you got a low round going to like being in contention for a tournament? I think they're slightly different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because it's situational.
Yeah.
In that situation, in that part of it, because you're not having to shoot a low score. You actually just need to get it in, which we all know. Like Tiger was always so good at. I always use the example of on the last at Doral, I think it was possibly a WGC, where he had maybe a 3-shot lead, and he gets to the last, which is a long par 5, walked it all down the left, a wedge to the green, and he hits like 6-iron off the tee, then he hits a 9-iron, then a wedge to the green, and you're thinking, this guy, he's been leading all week, he's umpteen under par, he's the best golfer that week of our generation, possibly ever, and he's got a 3-stroke lead. And if there's anyone who has a right to stand up and go, I'm just going to nut a driver down there, 320 with a big high draw, it's Tiger Woods, but he's able to put his ego down and go, no, I know what to do to just get this across the line.
Yeah, I think
it takes a lot of like confidence and sharpness.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what I lacked. And do you know what? I think you're right with a bit of the ego thing as well, because as you know, when everyone's out watching behind, there's a bit of a crowd, and I'm like, I've got this. You know what I mean? Like a bit of a, I want to hit this shot because I know I've got it. When really, all that matters is you got the trophy in your hand at the end of the round, not how good your pure
how you did it,
330-yard drive out the middle with a fade starting over the water.
He's also got there though, Steve Williams, if he's got like a single cent of doubt, like he'll just undermine that, just saying, no, just win the tournament, mate. Yeah, like a win's a win sort of thing.
For me, that stems just from a pure like. He's not even trying to do it in a certain style. He's just like, how do you win? How do you beat people?
Yeah.
And he just knows that he knows himself well enough to know at that time, like, this is a thing to do.
He did the same when he won. He did the same, I thought, when he won the Masters. Like he hit his second shot, didn't even look at the green. He just thought, I'm going to hit it into that bowl down the right hand side. I know I can get up and down from free from there.
On the 18th,
on the 18th when he won in 19.
I mean, I don't mean to be combative, but that was just a terrible shot.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
he spooned that 8-iron, didn't he? I remember thinking he's been playing lovely all day, and he just like hit that like fanny 8-iron out to the right. That was a really odd shot. He
knew his miss was short right. You had to stay on the bottom tier,
close to the trees, I think.
And then hit a.
I think that was a terrible shot.
I don't know.
You can go long left, you can go in the crowd, but past the pin. I mean,
he's got the super.
It's not water, is it?
He's got the superpower to pull off the facial expressions like that. When I'm in control here, then even if it's just a bad shot. But I think what's really interesting for the amateur listeners and things like this, and I have this conversation with my dad all the time and stuff. It's actually really easy to still, for extremely talented golfers, to still make big numbers on holes. One, golf courses are exceptionally hard for professional athletes. And two, do you know what I mean? It's such a minutia. You've had a shot on tap for 12 hours of golf prior to that, and it's just not faded. You've started it on the line you wanted to start it on. Yeah. You caught the water.
The club face is 2.5 degrees more closed than it was than the one before.
And then all of a sudden a treble comes out of nowhere, and like, you know, for an amateur who just reads stats, it's like, how do you make a treble on a hole? You're so good at golf, mate. You know, it's actually really quite easy to make big numbers.
Shouldn't have been in that situation. Put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, but you're only human, you know. You got there off the back of a back injury. Yeah, you couldn't get in my front room to get your free balls. That winded you up, right? You've flown over there with a client, so you're technically in a different kind of work mode. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
You're leading going into the final.
I'll tell you a little thing about that.
If you're using a TBTC ball, you probably would have won by 8.
I'll tell you something about that tournament. I used 2 balls the whole tournament.
Oh.
That's 2 balls. When you have to buy your own golf balls.
Right, hold on. I only took, as you know,
I took a sleeve with me.
If you play a tournament and a pro tournament and you start with a Pro V1, a certain Pro V1, you have to finish that round with that Pro V1. You can't swap ball during the round.
So you can't go from a Pro V1 to an X?
No.
Really?
You have to use, because if you go out and the greens are firm. You didn't realise, and you think I could do with a ball with a bit more spin, and you're during the round. It's like changing your driver like a degree or two. You know,
that's really interesting. Then, so when you're playing in like club competitions and stuff, you know, for an 18 handicapper who's just got
random balls,
he's just got to jump.
He's
He's
got
got
a Pro V1X and the finish of the top flight XL.
He's got. I mean, doesn't apply to me. I put half my wages into types Pro V1s, but that's a really
downwind
interesting
use
thing.
one ball and into the wind use a different ball.
Yeah, because you hit a penalty area and then you've put a pinnacle into the lake and you'll TP5 extra wedge.
When I teed off that tournament on that first hole, you can change it the next day. It's a different day.
Yeah, of course, start of a new round,
But on that first round, I knew I had 2 Pro Vs and I knew I couldn't lose mine. There's quite a bit of water around there and certain things. So I was like, that's it. I've got these 2 balls and that's it. So not even a sleeve, 2.
So
a sleeve is 800 dirhams.
Were you down to 1 ball?
Yeah, I was down to 1 ball.
And
so I could have hit it
in 3 of the next 4 holes.
100%, and I could have been completely out of it.
That's mental.
And then on the last round, I had to use a used ball because the first 2 rounds I used obviously 2 balls. So third round, I had to use a used one.
Even though you knew you were in for a good check, you just refused to pay 800 dirhams for another sleeve.
They didn't have. By the way, they didn't. This is it. So this made me sound. They didn't have any of the balls in the pro shop, and the Pro Vs that they did have were a different Pro V1.
Mate, Henry must have had about 2010 revolutions in his bag.
He was using X's.
Oh,
I couldn't get hold of him. I text Zane, didn't I, before the tournament started. Yeah. And he
asked me about the Callaways
because Offman had some, and he was like, "It's good." And I couldn't tee off in the tournament with a ball that I didn't know.
Nah.
So I just thought, I'm just going to go with it.
It was my fault then, yeah?
Yeah, no, it wasn't your fault because I managed to use that ball the whole time.
I'll take the blame.
Yes, it's not what he said.
Yeah.
Me. All right, off pod.
Anyway, well done, 2nd place.
Oh, good though.
You had a good season, to be fair. Like,
thank you.
Calendar year wise, for someone who's kind of got comfortable with where you want to be of a golfer and the rest of it, where you've gone and played, you've been competitive every single time you've played professional golf this year. So I think you should take a lot out of that.
Thanks, mate.
Round of applause. Well done, mate. Nice.
Install
well, there you go.
applause.
So 2nd place finish in the King Hamad Trophy over 3 rounds. Good things for next year.
Yeah. Go.
Nice. So then James and I played a bit of golf in Dubai, which we chatted about last week.
Yep.
I had the pleasure of playing some of the Lions Den events, which are held at the Els Club in Dubai. And last week, it's basically like an organised money game. And last week we had a PJ Tour player, Challenge Tour player, DP World player, a Live Tour player, and LET golfers in it. It was
really decent field.
I mean, it wasn't a big field, but everyone in it was really good, and it's such a good environment to play golf in because you start to fancy yourself as a bit of a golfer.
Fancy,
a bit fancy, and then you're playing quite well. And then last week got to play with Thomas Dietrich, and Thomas Dietrich is someone who I've commentated on Sky because he's been playing really well on the PGA Tour since he's gone there, and been bigging him up because he hits the ball like nice and high and straight, and he just continued that. And to see it in real life is quite. Having been away from the tour for a little while in person, it's quite impressive to watch.
Perfect course for that as well, isn't it? Lots of carries or pins that you have to fly it high.
He looks really long on telly. Is he like long?
He's not. No, he's not a bomber. He does hit it a long way. He hits it very high and very straight. Doesn't curve the ball very much. Hits the ball like he's long, but he's not like obscenely long.
But he looks like someone that's got an extra 30 in him if he needs it.
Yeah, possibly. But he just loved playing golf. I mean, like this week because he lives out there. So he lives there, plays a bit on the DP, but he's kind of saying that he's fully committing to the PGA Tour now because of just so much money. The amount of events that he said which got $20 million purses, it's insane, really.
Next spring onwards, the card just looks unreal. It's like 8, 20, 8, 20, 20, 8, 8, huge purses. And I think he's pretty much almost kept his card right with the points he's achieved already. Yeah,
he's been in contention quite a bit already, and it does just suit him down to the ground. I think Europe, you know what, he didn't really, I think his talent probably has exceeded his performances in Europe, even though he's done pretty well in Europe. I don't know whether he would think he would do better, but looking at his game, you think, this guy would have won 2 or 3 tournaments a year. That hasn't happened, but I think he's more suited to the PGA Tour than anywhere else, really, and he's absolutely in the right space. And you know what? He doesn't seem to pick at his game very much. I think he likes to play quite a bit. I put a post up, and Ollie Fisher was saying that he just loves playing golf, probably partly because he's had a new baby, so it's probably a nice way to get out of the house and get out of the baby duties and so forth. But yeah, really good. Played with another guy who was a guy called Pat, who was hilarious. And anyone know Thomas Dietrich knows he wears like coloured gloves.
Yeah.
And he was wearing a blue glove. And we get in the first. He goes, "What time do you start your shift tonight?" Like, what are you talking about? He goes, "Oh, you got your nurse's glove on," and just gave him shit about it all day long. But he took it in very, very good spirits.
Pat Wells.
Yeah, it was good fun. But yeah, and then obviously the week before, I said last week I'd play with Todd Clements, who's obviously in great form, and he did pretty well this week in his opening event on the DP World Tour. He ended up finishing about 33rd, 34th. Yeah. But he was, he was top 20 all week until a slightly poor finish. But yeah, good to see him press on from there.
He's in the top 10 going into the final round. I think he's tied 9th, and yeah, just went back a little bit. But just to finish that off, you had your own second place in the Bedrock in Dubai as well, mate. Game's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, second place to Todd, funny enough. Actually, yeah, nearly caught the little bastard, but he held like a 15 foot on 17 for a par, which was a bit annoying. But never mind. For a retired part-timer, maybe I'll have a little comeback.
Bit left in the tank.
Yeah, there is a bit left in there. I knocked it past him by about 15-20 yards on the first, and he hated it. Absolutely hated it. But onto the DP World Tour. I mean, I didn't get to watch any golf. I was doing a bit of travelling and so forth. What went on there?
Yeah, it was really. I was fortunate enough to catch quite a lot of it, and it was. I think probably the best way to describe it, an absolute Cinderella story with this lad, Daniel Bradbury, who's come out of North England, seemed to just keep producing golfers at the moment, and was there on a sponsor's invite. Had only had experience, I think, of 3 professional tournaments before. If I heard right, he's a Florida State golfer, but has left college early. Must have. He's only just recently turned 21, I think. And
was it the Joburg Open?
Joburg Open, yeah. And has decided to pursue his. He's obviously turned professional because he's picked up a winner's check. And looking at his rounds as well, he's like coming back to your point about not taking the foot off the gas. I mean, he's gone low the entire week. He's past 73. I think his worst round was 69, and it might have been because he bogeyed the last, but he was 5-6 under for the lion's share of the last round. But again, when we were talking about how Rahm operated Zed last week in the DP World, every time somebody made a birdie, Rahm would come back. He did that, and he had Sami Välimäki in his final group, who's already an existing winner on tour. And he was playing amongst a lot of the experienced South Africans, and who have a huge pull at these events.
That's such a big thing. When you play in South Africa, they know their like terrain and their course and their grass. They are so good out there.
And they had some massive crowds, to be fair. It was a really, really decent event. For $1 million purse, like, they had a really, really big following there. The hospitality was really well put together. They had people crowded around. And this guy, I mean, honestly, just tee to green game was so impressive. His course management was so impressive.
I've actually been in that situation. I've actually played the Joburg Open off an invite when I first come through, in a very similar sort of time to him. And so I know what that's like, and to feel that pressure when you're there and you feel like you've got to be, you feel like a very small fish in a big pond, and for him to actually win in that situation just tells you something of him as a person, which is impressive.
So composed. I mean, mix and match clothing. He had like Puma shirt on, Nike shoes. Like,
only you would notice that stuff though. I know, gloves.
But he had
only 2 layers under his pitching wedge grip instead of his 7-iron. Like 3 layers.
No, I found it. I found it. I was
just read this Freewood.
I was properly in awe of how impressive it was. You really, like, it with the utmost respect to him, you would expect in that situation the lack of kind of competition experience to just get you. Even if he'd gone and shot level par in the final round and finished in the top 3, which would have got him in the next week, it would have been a really, really respectful performance. But I don't know. I'm going to come back to a point in a second, but he arrived on Wednesday as well. I think he only played the front or the back 9 and then went straight out. It's just super, super impressive. And he led all week.
Did he? Wire to wire?
Yeah, wire to wire. Led all week.
Wow. And did you say he was a college player?
Yeah, and that's the point I was going to make. There's something going on in this collegiate system. I said to Zed when we were walking around Dubai Hills, like, one of the things I'd really like to do next year is go and watch a collegiate event and just find out how good the quality is, because anyone who's coming out of this system now just seems to be like tournament ready straight out the gate. And it's just crazy, like the rookies now coming into the PGA Tour, this lad now straight out of American college. I mean, like I said, wire to wire, 2 8-unders in a 22 under or 21 under par winning score. It's phenomenal. Really, really impressive.
So these, if you look at them scores every week, they're always low, right? They're making loads and loads of birdies.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that point when Zane said to me about when you're going low, how do you keep going low? You just got to get comfortable making loads of birdies. That is something you have to get comfortable with. And these boys out there doing that and girls are really getting comfortable, because they have to every single week.
It did make a bogey until 18.
It almost makes it easier, I think. It's a bit like when you play Challenge Tour, having come out of amateur golf, which is around like, the linked courses, which, level par is a good score. Then you go to the Challenge Tour and then you're shooting 15 under and coming top 20. All of a sudden, like when you're like 5, 6 under in a good, a field of good scoring, 5 or 6 under just gets really easy, because that becomes your new par.
Yeah.
And making birdies, and you're surrounded by other golfers that are also making 5, 6, 7 birdies around, and it almost makes your comfort zone easier by your surroundings, I think.
Yeah. It just unlocks a little bit of belief. When you're used to making them birdies and you make a few, it's like, and then you go and play an event like that, you know you can do it.
Yeah,
you do it all the time.
What was quite impressive is you saw. The 6th hole was the telling hole. It's the only time he missed the middle of the club face, what looked like all week, really. And then he's kind of trying to play catch up a bit. Tough par 4. Tried to dig himself out of trouble. He's hit a bit of a bad chip. So now all of a sudden he's greenside playing 4 on a par 4, looking like he really is going to make double, to be honest. Chips in, hits the pin kind of flush. Chips in, you think, oh, you got away with one there. And it didn't rattle him. He got straight back on the next tee and just got back into his groove, and didn't actually drop a shot in his final round until the 18th, where he free whacked. So
what was his lead on 18?
3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he had a free shot lead, but he still used driver.
It's funny how that always happens, isn't it?
Really,
like people 3 putt or 4 putt the 18.
Yeah, really long par 4, 18 at Joburg. It's like long and narrow, and he's just hit this tight pull cut all week. Bang, 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 bang. Just had it on a string. Gets the driver out, not gone down the bag or anything, just like nukes it down there. Hits it a little bit long right, and then he just gets a bit of a jumper out the fringe as you can with that grass. Is it like the Kukua grass they get there, Zed, in South Africa? It can be a bit funny to.
You've been there, haven't you?
Yeah, I played it. Yeah, Kukui. Yeah. It's sort of the ball normally though. It can sit on top because the blade's so thick of the grass.
Yeah,
sometimes it sits right on top. You get some serious cheddar off that. Cheddar.
Gear it. And then but then he's tapped in, he's left it on the lip, tapped in, made it, but he didn't he could tell that like it had started to sink in as he got up to the green, and then there was hordes of crowds around him, because he didn't do the traditional thing with a winner where he he was like, no,
to put out, get it in. Get this done.
He was about 8 foot out, and someone else was 6 foot, and he's like, no, I'll go, and then just left it on the lip, put a marker down, and then he's tapped in, and then he's just gone and tapped in, and it's just all kind of.
He done the right thing then, no?
Well, he putted from. He had an 8 foot putt. Yeah, and then he had a 6 foot putt. I'm just saying, technically, he would have. You'd back yourself, wouldn't you? He gets out of the way, and then you think you're going to hold it. So you technically hold the last putt. If he'd held the 8 footer, you couldn't have started rupturing with roars and stuff. Yeah. The tournament was still ongoing. But
I'll tell you what, I bet he don't give a shit.
No, then he ran off to the back of the green. His mum watched him all week, and his dad was at home at Wakefield Golf Club. They had everyone in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
They had a camera down there watching it. His dad was bricking it, to be fair. Like, his dad just didn't want to talk, but the captain of the golf club was there, and just what a massively special moment. Cinderella Story.
Lapping it up.
Cinderella Story.
Well, congratulations on the first time winner, Dan Bradbury. There was another tournament on the DP World Tour, and the winner was probably the best player of the not best players in the world.
I saw you having a bit of banter about this.
I had a bit of banter with Mark Crossfield, one of James's favourites. I'm sure you must watch all his videos.
No.
Yeah, you must do. Come on, don't lie.
No thanks. Not for me.
So Cam Smith won that one. Live Tour player, win on the DP World.
Yeah.
Winning by 3 shots. I mean, he's had a great year. He's won so many times now, and probably a little bit of a stick it up to all the people that said that you now couldn't play 4 rounds. He seemed to dominate that one all the way through.
Yeah. And obviously probably, I mean, native land, probably easy to get lagers straight after that, isn't it? All his boys would have been around. I mean, look, yeah, he's a phenomenal golfer. I think he's probably the one that the PGA Tour are going to miss the most, because we saw him keep challenging over the last few years, and he just looks like he gets better every year. I still feel like, for me, even though it was great to see Scheffler win, we watched him at the Masters. I thought he was the best golfer at the Masters, and I really felt like he's going to win a Masters really, really soon if he can play in them. We'll find out in April.
That's short game, 100%.
Yeah, and then went and won the Open Championship in emphatic style, and obviously,
and the Players.
Yeah, and then obviously I think he won his first week on Live as well at Boston. I'm pretty sure it was his maiden tournament on Live he won, and then to come out to Australia, he's just winning all around the world. He's a proper global golfer now.
Shows you how strong he is mentally. Yeah, like, you got to think. The Players, he's hit that crazy shot out of the trees with
to rock a mullet and still just
exactly. But then to make up and down from where he did after that, because you think you'd be a bit rattled to hit that wedge shot.
He did. Good shot when he hit it. He was up the right, chipped out into the water, took the drop, and then it was like a 60-yard shot. Yeah. And we were at Sawgrass at that time, and we were sat in the room with James Heath, and he hit this shot, and as it landed, we were both just lying on our beds, and he's like, Zed man, did you see that? Did you see that? It was a classy shot.
I was on the 17th in the stands watching him hit that shot into there as well, which was seriously special. But
you know what though? It's weird though, because he's like kind of mentally strong without being like arrogant. Yeah, mentally strong. Like he come out and said last week that he had struggled with the thoughts of like, was he doing the right thing? Yeah. Going to Live, and it wasn't just a straightforward situation. Whereas I think you would see like a Brooks Koepka would whether he would or wouldn't, he wouldn't let you in to know whether he had struggled with it. He would say no, I didn't, whatever, it's fine. Whereas Cam Smith is quite aware of his own self, and he's confident enough to say like, yeah, it was quite tough actually, and I did actually. He kind of owns what is actually going on, but then doesn't pander to it and crumble. He still like seems to be able to turn it around and come out on top, like that win at Sawgrass. I mean, you could say it's mentally weak to chip it out into the water. It's a ridiculous shot. Like, I remember watching it saying, this is only one place for this. I've been there a bunch of times. It's a slope, chipping down a slope toward the water. It's always going to go there. So is that mentally weak? Yeah, of course it is. But then it's able to have the resolve and to then step up and put that out of his mind and just keep playing.
100%. And then take Rory down the stretch at their home of golf.
And duff him up,
duff him up.
I thought when we were at the Masters,
that is second to the Stuart Sink Todd Watson Open. That is, Stuart Sink, and can we just give Stuart Sink and Cam Smith another? Just wait till next year, will you?
But that I'm similar to you. If I go to an event, I find the practice range like as good as any area to go and watch a golfer. You can get as close to them, you can stand right behind them down the line and watch them fly it. And I think you and I both sat and watched him with a little palmetto cheese for half an hour, and he was a fucking serious flusher. I mean, like, he was so impressive.
He just knew what he was doing, didn't he? He had his track man down. He just looked like he was going through all of his yardages. Didn't really miss a shot. And, he just knew what he was doing.
I think it's really difficult, though, in one of the most elite golf tournaments in the world, to maybe a slightly better golfer who sees flights and stuff like that, to feel like he's actually in a window above everybody else that like on the range with him. I felt like he flighted it in a window that was just completely different.
He weren't better than Tiger though, was he?
No, Tiger was a joke.
Yeah, but Tiger, the wind was down off the left, and being down. For me, I wouldn't hit too many balls on a range when the wind's off the left before I go and play, because it's not a nice wind off your back. So Tiger come out, didn't he?
Yeah.
Far left of the range. Literally, furthest left bit.
Hitting it across the range.
Far right. So he was going down the wind, so it wasn't bothering him.
Yeah.
And no one done that.
That was just experience, wasn't it? I mean, yeah, Tiger, I think I said to you when we were walking down, Tiger, Tommy and Cam Smith were in a different class, like ball striking wise. Like Tommy was just sat there hitting 4 irons because they had on that range there. It was almost like a top trace range that was on the wall, and you could see the pin that Tommy was going to. I think it was like 227, wasn't it? And he was hitting like 4 irons. The dispersion to the hole was just filth. Yeah. And then Cam Smith was on the right hand side of the range, you know, with that sweeping left wind, which he does hit a fade, but he had it so controlled in that wind, just like rip.
But back to my like, and then to go to Live Tour for him, and then to obviously get over that and win, you know, be mentally strong, and then also going back to his home and winning in Australia on home soil for the 3rd time. Was it the 3rd time? Or I saw, maybe I might be wrong there. To do that, you know, he's someone that shouts to me at majors.
Yeah,
lots of them.
Yeah, I mean,
but then this is the whole thing, isn't it? Like if he continues to travel outside of the live, getting a little vape there, if he continues to travel outside the live and still play these sort of events, I think it will stand him in really good stead.
Yeah.
If he starts to like sit back and be like, I don't need to travel now. I've got all this money and I can just play the live events and, you know, have a tear up on the jet and do that sort of stuff. Will he keep his like competitiveness up? I don't know. That's the bit that
I don't think
still sits out for me is that at the moment they're running off the back of they're still coming hot of a full year of golf and being competitive. I believe that if you get golfers that sit back and just play live for, you know, 2 to 3 seasons, I think they're going to start to fall really short of the majors, coming up against a Rory McIlroy who's competing against 150 golfers over 4 rounds.
I completely agree with that.
You know, and having to be sharp because you're being pushed.
So it's not the fact that it's like 4-round tournaments. You mean it's just the competitive edge of playing in competitions where people are staying match sharp because they're playing more regularly.
It's all of the above. Like it is 4 rounds. There's a different rhythm, as Josh will attest to. There's a different rhythm to playing a 2-round tournament to a 3-round tournament to a 4-round tournament. Like a 2-round tournament is a bit of a sprint. You start your day thinking, right, everyone's even par now. At some point tomorrow evening, you know, like so we're going to get a winner, and you feel like you're in contention from the beginning. On a 3-round tournament, you've now got a cut to contend with, which does have a slightly different rhythm depending on how you start. If you get off to a flyer, then you're not even thinking about it. But if you don't, it does play into your mind a little bit, and there's a certain energy to playing to get yourself through the cut, to give yourself a chance going to the last round. But then the 3rd round, you then the shackles are off and you're going for it because you want to try and win. Whereas when it's 4 rounds, you're managing yourself to make sure you get through the cut because you want to give yourself, you're jostling for position to get to the weekend. And then the 3rd round, you don't want to go, you know, you want to have a good round, but you're not going to go all out because you're thinking, actually, 2 very good rounds is going to get me through here. If I go all out, I might have a complete storm and shoot 9 under, but I might shoot 1 over, which pays me out for tomorrow. And then you've got a really boring Sunday.
And also 4 rounds is normally a bigger purse event, normally. So you're also...
Definitely more world ranking points.
You're also trying to stay sort of in that top 20 and round. You're not going too all out because if you drop down, it can also cost you a lot more money. So
here's one.
And the depth in the fields. The depth in the fields is just a thing. Like your man who's 100 on the order of merit on the PGA Tour is a really freaking good player. And like it or not, Peter Uihlein has been playing really well on the live.
Yeah,
he was struggling to be a 100 ranked player on the PGA Tour. So, you know, you need to be around good players, the best players.
And here's one from an amateur's perspective. I've really only got to a point in my amateur career where I play 2-round golf, and I think there's still periods when you manage the competition better, when I've had better finishes, where you can have a couple of bad holes and you've got enough time to build it back in. Do you think, as golfers who've played a lot of 4-round tournament golf and subsequently 3-round, you know, like you don't have to be on your A game for 72 holes or 54 holes. You can have periods where you just grind it out a little bit and re-find your rhythm and then get back into it. You know, like
from watching, you know, from like watching loads of the golf like I do now, doing the commentary, say most weeks, you know, at some point each golfer in the field has a rough half an hour. And if you watch on the weekends, every now and again you get a player who goes through, who just cruises, but pretty much even the winner, he'll have like a rocky 20 to 30 minutes where he just got to weather the storm, and then they come out the other side of it. It just happens time and time again. And you know, I feel like I've watched more golf, as much golf now as when I was probably like when I was a kid, basically. Because you know, you sit there with my dad and watch every bit of golf we could find, along with the David Ledbetter VHS tapes during the week when the golf wasn't on.
It did here,
but it's the same. It's the same thing. Like, it's just there's no way around it. Whether you're an amateur golfer playing your weekend golf, or you're Tony Finau who's like smashing it in a PGA Tour event, there's a 2 to 3 hole period where your whole weekend, whether it be your weekend with the boys or the weekend on the tour, could go completely awry, and somehow just keep your head on for that. And you know what? It doesn't last.
Yeah.
Like when you have a good run, you know, for anyone who goes out this weekend and plays, you might go birdie par, or birdie par, which might be good for your standard. For a tour golfer, it might be like eagle birdie. You get all up and excited. By the way, that will run out, that feeling, and at some point it will go south.
Yeah.
But exactly the same, when it is going south, it doesn't go south forever. It does go the other way, but you somehow just got to like work your way through it.
It's a big thing of being level-headed, because sometimes if someone has a bad finish, you know, like, it's just timing of when that rough patch comes. You know, if it becomes a common denominator where it always is at the end, then there might be something going on there. But like, if it just comes at an end of a round and it costs you, like, don't always think like you've absolutely like done your pants, because we might not have. It might have just, you know, come at that time, that rough patch. And I think that is if you accept that, when you know you're going to have them patches, and you've got the acceptance that you also hit bad shots, it helps you so much more to stay level-headed. Yeah,
which we you know, people talk about not compounding errors, like, happens a lot. You know, make a double bogey, get on the next, and just make your strategy, not how you approach hitting the actual shot, but make your strategy just so like you just don't fuck up.
Yeah,
like let's not fuck up for the next like 2 holes, and then kind of go again and build it up again. We chatted to Andy Rate on the not fucking up kind of ethos, and he got through tour school like more than anybody I've ever known. And I bumped into him at the clubhouse in Sunningdale. I think I had tour school coming up, and I said to him, and he was like, "You're good at tour school. Like, what is the key to getting through Q school? Like, you've done it so many times." And he's quite a straightforward, like, simple talking, you know, guy. And he had a little think for about 5-6 seconds. He said, "You know what, Zane? All you got to do is just not fuck up." I was imagining some amazing recipe for how you get through. And that year I got to finals, and I hadn't got to finals before. And I kind of went through thinking, you know what, just don't fuck up. And what that means is just don't make a terrible decision. You hit a bad shot, but just don't mess up. Like, you'll have to mess up a little bit. Just not completely fuck it up.
Yeah, putting unnecessary pressure on yourself. And going back to that first round in Bahrain, for me, where I hadn't played too much, that was one of my things, was, like I said, give myself a bit more room, play aggressive to them spots, and then also pace putting. I always like, if I can just leave my ball near the hole and I'm tapping in, it's taking so much pressure off myself.
Accumulate
with 3 or 4 footers. And I just build my way in from there.
Build confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the low expectation, high flow state.
Yeah, boy.
So the women's golf, the LET had their final event. I saw
watched all of that as well.
Saw Olivia Cowan. She was in Dubai previously with her boyfriend Todd. She was playing quite nicely. She came top 10, I believe. Yeah. And then I didn't get to watch any of the golf, but James, you watched it, the wall-to-wall coverage.
I did, yeah. I seem to have watched a lot of golf this weekend. You know what? It's like final round on a Sunday, because it's in Spain. It's kind of that prime golf time. Joburg's a few hours ahead, so it's right in that prime sort of in between kind of lunch and roast dinner time, like on the telly. And I got to say, they didn't disappoint. It was really, 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 really good golf. And actually, the way in which the coverage was coming across, Sophie Walker was on it, is really good, as you know, Zed. And, Sophie always bringing her energy through. And she was starting to kind of tell a story about actually how she could really see the European Solheim Cup team unfolding here. And, and then you actually start to get to understand a little bit the profile of these girls. You've got this really young girl, Maya Stark, who's super energetic and just seems to like take the shell off the golf ball all the time. Really always plays on the front foot. And
I really like that term, like take the shell off it.
Yeah. What is that? Remember, she just rips it.
Jason Day said that. Jason Day said when he had that really good stretch when he was like world number 1. They said, "What do you do? What do you try and do when you're under pressure?" And he just said, "I was trying to knock the shell off it."
And she was getting unstuck at the 17th on both the 3rd and 4th round, which is It's 490. It's a very reachable par 5 for some of the slightly longer hitters on the ladies tour. And there's this bush on the right hand side, and she just fanned this hybrid into it both days, and not been able to capitalise. And then it's the first opportunity I've really got to see live this girl Linn Grant, who you've been talking up for quite some time now, and she didn't disappoint. I mean, she'd struggled in the third round. Whoever finished higher in this competition between her and Maya Stark was going to win the race to Costa del Sol, which is their order of merit. And she started the day a shot ahead of Maya Stark and shot 8 under round 2. And it was just round 4, and it was just nuts how good it was. I mean, this girl is just out of this world, and she's got all the way around to this 17th. She's one back off the lead, which is currently 16 under. She's 15 under, hits a kind of like controlled driver down just short of the bunker. She's got 235 pin. She's got, I think, like a weak freeward in her hand. Like Sophie,
a weak freeward.
Yeah, like
how do you know?
Forward.
Well, they're just describing it. Yeah, it's got more loft on it. Forward. There you go. I'm only repeating words. Anyway, they think it's gone off on this right line as well, and they're like, "Oh, we're worried about right side here," but she's obviously just hit a little fade. And she's hit it to 4 foot, rolls it in, makes eagle, has a look for birdie on the last from 25 feet. So it's really interesting. Finish this course they're playing in Spain. Finishes par 5, par 5, par 3. So from a kind of finish, there's a lot going on. Good. And then, but the overall winner, Caroline Headwall, who then you hear her story, like, she raced onto tour, another Swedish girl, like, won very early on, then had a big break, won again in 2018, and then she keeps finishing close, like keeps losing out in the final round, gets all the way to the end, gets herself into a playoff with Morgan Mathieu, is that right? Mathieu, I believe, who is Harry Ellis's girlfriend. And she's another American collegiate. She's come out of American college, but Swiss girl, but speaks phenomenal English. I mean, she didn't miss a shot all week. Again, really, really impressive. Just didn't have a putt drop. And this playoff just keeps going on and on and on. And they're very right. They were like, look, someone's going to win this. It's not going to be someone losing it, because they keep playing this par 3. And then they played the par 5 17th once, both halved the hole. And then Caroline Headwall, her length came through and she managed to hit it to the back of the green, and then had a 12-footer down the hill, which she holed for birdie, and that was that. And she gets her win. But this Morgan Mathieu, she managed to keep her card on the LPGA by finishing she had to finish in the top 5 a week before, finished 4th, so kept her LPGA card, came straight over to this tournament. I mean, it was just I've been fairly critical sometimes.
Loved it, didn't you? Loved it. He's lived every moment here.
I've been a bit critical, I think, of some of the game and short games and things like that, and how they operate under pressure and things like that. But I've got to say the standard of golf was really, really impressive. And from a European standpoint, I found it, really exciting going into a Solheim Cup. Europe now, obviously Charlie's come back into form. Georgia's been at a high standard now for a long, long time. There's obviously a lot of these new rookie girls that are coming through that are really putting their foot down. I think the only disappointing thing I took out of the week was Lynn's obviously won the Costa del Sol in her rookie season, which is amazing, really. I mean, her stats were a joke. 17 tournaments, 4 wins. She finished in the top 10 out of 16 tournaments, which is just nuts. But she can't play on the LPGA because she refuses to get vaccinated. I think there's more to the story than that.
She's basically kept an LPGA tour card without playing in America.
Because earning enough points.
Doing the majors, yeah. But This the vaccination status. Now, I did a bit of research on it afterwards to find out whether or not it was.
Is this your head's gone?
It is a little bit because because they're sort of saying that she's a world number 1 in the waiting. In watching her play, you can see it, but there's no way, just with the points that go to the LET in comparison to the LPGA, she's managed to get herself to 20th in the world through what she's done this year. But unless she goes and wins, she only got 4 opportunities a year now. Well, actually, that's not even true. She's only got 2 of the 4 majors she can play in, because they won't let her play the majors in America, where she can go. She's going to have to win the tournaments to kind of progress into the top 10 in the world. Unless she finds a way around playing in the LPGA, I don't think she can get to world number 1.
Scrap all this vaccination soon, though, haven't they?
Yeah, she said she'll go and play it when they find a course, but there's a personal reason within her family where she refuses to get vaccinated, and that's that. So she'll stay on the LET until that's sorted out.
It seems like it's going all right for her, doesn't it? She's playing all right, so it's fair enough.
Be good to see her and Nelly go down the stretch head to head, wouldn't it?
Yeah, same age, like same sort of profile of golfer, both flush it, can't find a weakness in the game. I mean, that would be wicked to watch, to be honest. That'd be really good.
That would be.
Yeah, the standard of women's golf this year has been really, really good.
How good would
So
it
many
be
good
to
players.
see a ladies' Masters? I know they do the amateur one, but it should be the top pros.
That's got to come.
Got to come. It's got.
They're doing the amateur, aren't they? So they're going to do the pro one. Sure.
Do you reckon?
They should do
At some point.
I think they should.
At some point.
I don't see why not.
Okay, so we've got a couple of questions from the listeners through the Instagram. Mark Sheehan 07 said, if you could only play one golf hole forever, what would it be? Or where would it be?
That'd be a long one, wouldn't it? Can't play a par 3 every
Not
time.
the 15th at Bahrain.
No, definitely not. One golf hole. I'll tell you what is a good hole.
Go on.
People don't.
Tell us.
I would say the 16th at Sawgrass is a good hole.
Yeah, it's a good hole. Lots going on. They've got to draw it off the tee.
Yeah.
Bit of decision making for the second shot. It's good around the green.
Yeah, you got a good layup, or you can go for it. Bit of water at the green. Yeah, I just think it's a good hole. It's got everything.
Nice.
Good on the eye.
Okay. One hole forever. Yeah. Could hit a driver as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a problem. You could say a par 3, but then you'd never hit a wood ever again.
Be terrible.
You're a shocker. James?
Well, I would play a par 3. I'd play the 16th for Augusta because I think it's my best chance of a hole in one.
Okay.
Fair play.
Yeah, if you played that rest of your days, you'd have to have a hole in one.
Yeah.
You wouldn't die a happy man if you didn't.
Nah.
Be easier if you're a little fade.
You haven't. What about ones that you've played?
Nah. If I had to play a hole out of the holes I've played, Mill 9 at Wisley. Yeah. I just feel like I just got an unfinished. I actually really like the golf holes. I just want to kind of overcome it. It sort of suits me really, soft left to right. I mean, it should be good round it, but
wind off the left though a lot there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wind off the left a lot.
Overriding it.
Yeah, it's a bit fancy. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's a weird question. It's never going to happen, so I don't really know how to answer it.
Just pick a hole, mate.
If I could pick loads of holes, I picked a hole and you knocked it.
I didn't knock it. Just one you played.
One I've played.
Yeah. So Mill 9.
Guess so.
Mill 9 out of Wisley. Okay, what would be mine? Mine would be, the new course at Sunningdale, that par 5, is it number 6?
Yeah, nice.
Like kind of up, left to right thing.
Really?
Up the hill,
You like
yeah.
that?
Just 'cause I love standing on that tee. It's like a real quiet spot on the golf course. You can see loads, and then you could go drive off across the corner.
Yeah.
You can hit your 3-wood straight down. Then the second shot, you got a high flight 4-iron or whatever it is. Try and stop it on top. If you miss it, you play a little spinner or a bump.
That is a good one. That was one of them holes where, when you play these holes and there's been a tournament there and there's always this story of this legend of a player.
Like Tiger drove the 18th at Old Head.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way you've driven that hole. No way.
There's one there for me with Kuros off the back tee. And I always say he cleared the corner onto the next hole. And this is like a 450-yard carry. And I'll just get on there. Okay, every time it gets mentioned, I'm like, that is impossible. It's impossible.
So much lying going on. Makes for a good myth for the caddies, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a couple more. We've got, how do you see 2023 panning out for Liv? I think it'll pan out pretty well. I think we're going to see the teams come into effect and a lot of chat come up around that. I mean, we've spoken loads about that. But I think it's going to be a good year for the Liv, but more so around the teams and the chatter away from golf still. I still don't think that you're going to get a lot of people watching it, and like it's not going to held in the same ilk as watching the PGA Tour.
I think it's going to do well because I think the DP World Tour is going to. I think it's going to struggle from now on.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think there's more money going to DP World Tour. I think a lot of people are quite optimistic about DP World Tour.
On DP World Tour.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see.
And I think this was a week where it was it was one of their reduced field, smaller purse funds. They had 2 events going on. They've got another one this week, both in Oz and in South Africa, and still the standard of golf was very good. So I agree with both points. I think that the DP world will still prosper, and I think Liv will be a really good development year. Let's say they've got 7 or 8 new players to announce, and I think on the other side of it, they're now saying that they're going to start dropping some players as well. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens with those guys and what they do with their careers.
I think the DP Tour is only as good as it is because of a couple of sponsors. And if they go, I think it might be a bit.
I think there's more money going in, so they've obviously got some new cash going in. New cash.
Bangers everywhere.
Bangers.
Also, just real quickly, actually, which has been brought to attention by Wilson Rawballs.
Some boy.
It reminded me the Tiger injury this week. That actually his question is: Tiger injury, is it a swing change? Other golfers had to do the same and it improves them. But just coming back from that, I thought we were going to see Tiger play golf this week. He's pulled out with plantar fasciitis
Under the foot.
nightmare situation. Massively looking forward to that.
I think he's working his ground speed.
I don't know. It's his right foot, which is his bad leg, right?
Bad leg. But I just don't think
is this
Tiger,
it? Is this it now?
No, I just don't think he will tear it up if his game's not ready.
But
It's
is
not
this
to a
it?
certain standard.
Is
I
this
don't
it
think
for
it's anything to do
Tiger
with his foot.
properly competing again? Because it doesn't ever look like he's walking properly. This has come up.
I think we've had our big hurrah like in
Masters,
2019. Right? Yeah. I mean, in comparison to where we saw him at the Masters last year or this year, sorry, still in 2022, he, physically looked a completely different beast then, didn't he? So he still said he's going to play in the exhibition, didn't he, with Rory against Spieth and Thomas. I think what's lovely actually is how he's evolving into kind of coaching and guiding and caddying for Charlie, and his game gets better and better and better, and he's spending a lot of time with him, isn't he? So I think he's still going to be around golf just with that. But I feel for me, his next role is a senior role amongst the board of the PGA Tour. I really feel like that's where because that will really help the diversity angle. I think it'll be really good for
they hope so, because if he takes his pension out of it, there won't be no PGA Tour.
Oh no, yeah, it'd be a FTX situation. They'll be down in Bahamas in the old boats.
But if he teed it up in the Masters, though, we would all say he's got a chance of winning. So
I think if he can get to his ball, he thinks
easiest major to win, though.
Different, yeah. And he knows
major.
Is it?
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's less people playing, and
90 people playing.
It's a weaker field.
Easiest major.
The invites, and if you know the course well, because you get invited back all the time.
Not the easiest one to walk around, though, is it?
No,
it's not. No,
it did look like he needed one of them electric chairs going up that 18th hill, didn't he? Bless him.
Josh, what's your? Have you got a head gone for us this week?
A little bit. James at the starts there said he's got he's a 2-round golfer, and we're playing in the Sunningdale foursome. So I hope I get past the second round this time, James.
No, that's that's a stroke play tournament.
Shots fired.
That's 18 holes a day. That's different, and it's match play. It's a completely different thing.
It's a 6-round tournament. Is it 6 rounds?
I think how many? I think you have to play 7 if you go wire to wire, don't you?
I'm not sure. It'd just be nice to get a bit further, wouldn't it?
That's right. I've got 5 wood now. I'm good.
Head's gone. Maybe on the planes, on the airports, everyone rushing to get on the plane or get off the plane. We all land and take off at the same time.
It's madness. Like people pushing past you, like, mate, like, by the way, you're going to rush to get to that queue, and you know what? We're going to sit to right next to each other when we're waiting for those bags to come out.
And the wheels are going to touch the floor at the same time.
It's bizarre, that, isn't it? It's not like you're running off and you can just run straight through. Why people do
that does it for me is the standing up thing.
Yeah.
I always get the aisle seat, right? So get the aisle seat. And so there's normally 3 seats in the section there. So there's like 2 people next to you. And if you're like, if you're sat at the back of the bus, there's obviously loads of people in front of you. So like the seatbelt lights go off. Everyone's like, stand up. And then people next to me are trying to push out. I'm like, right, now. Because if I get up, it means I've got to stand for the next 10 minutes. Just sit down and just wait your turn. And you can see people busy. I've got to get my bag down. What do you need to get your bag down for? Get it down in a minute.
Where are you going?
Massive.
But it's also getting onto the plane. Like if I'm lucky enough to fly business or anything like that.
Speedy boarding.
Yeah, speedy. I will sit there. I don't want to be on that plane any longer than that flight time.
Yeah.
I'll sit there, just wait for the queue to go down.
Well, I learned that
be one of the last people to get on the plane.
I learned that from Brett Rumford. When we were travelling I can't remember where we were travelling back in the day. And obviously, being from Oz, he's obviously has to do loads and loads of flights and whatever. Yeah. We were sitting there chatting, and they call whatever zone it is, whatever. I was like, you get on? He's like, why do I want to go and sit on that tube for any longer than I have to? Yeah. I'm going to be the last person to get on. I remember just thinking that makes so much sense. Yeah. And there's all that panic, isn't there? Like, I was in the airport yesterday, and there's a few of us sitting around, and then the woman comes from Emirates saying like, last call, like, we're closing the gate. And then, but if you just remember, like, you're going to wait for me because I'm stood right here, and the hassle it takes for them to get all the bags off and that sort of stuff. They'll wait for you.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, all right, I'm gonna go to the toilet.
But there's a queue in the tunnel,
and then
as
you
well.
get downstairs, and then there's a queue downstairs now.
Yeah.
They're moving from upstairs
Exactly.
to downstairs.
My old man used to do that. He used to infuriate my mum when we go on family holidays. It's a good band, to be fair. There used to be a Burger King at Heathrow that was right next to a departures board and one of the great big microphones. So you used to be able to hear very, very clearly what the situation is. And my mum's quite frantic and likes to be really organised. BKJ, how she rolls. And the old man just be sat there just hooning a whopper, and he'd be like, okay, cool. And it's like, yeah, cool now for flight to St. Lucia. St. Lucia is the flight I remember vividly. And she'd be like, right, okay, Nick, we got to go now. It's like, no, don't. And he'd just be sat there and he'd be like, right, final call. We really need to start going now. She'd be like, Nick, we're going to miss our places. No, they won't leave without us, right? He goes, it's still an 8-minute walk from here. And he goes, James, don't worry, mate. Just finish your Diet Coke or whatever it was. And then he'd look at his watch and he'd go, right, okay, playing these in 5 minutes, probably we'll have a trot now. And we walked down there, right? He walked down there nonchalantly. My mum would have all the bags, joggling around, looking like she's going to fall over, bless her. And they'd be like, oh, no, you must hurry to your seat. And he said, is the pilot ready to leave? And my old man, he'd be so smug with all the people there. And he'd be like, right. And then he'd see, right, okay, those 3 empty seats, they'll be ours because everyone else is on the plane now. So he'd trot down there. And he'd be so nonchalant about it. But I totally agree with you. You get hurried around. It's the people that get off. It's when the plane lands.
You want to be on time, but it's the franticness.
Yeah, you don't want to be inconvenient.
It's the plane landing where you're like, oh, everyone's getting ready to go home that does me in. Because it's they take an eternity to get the luggage off a belt. You go and all stand. It's like people want to stand next to where the little the black flaps are, right next to it where the bags come out, and I'll get the very first bag. It's why? No one's going to nick your luggage, are they? Yeah. It's just then sprint off to the door. Yeah.
Anyway,
I think it's everyone. I think that's the team head's gone. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one. Right, chaps. If that's, I think that's pretty much everything.
20 episodes.
Got it all rattled off. Yeah. If you do like the podcast, listen to us chat breeze for a little while, don't subscribe or follow or do any good things at Bear Tiger Club website,
tell
Instagram
everyone.
handle, TikToks. Don't tell anybody about it. Keep it all to yourself. Don't share it. And hope you all have a really great week. And more next Monday.
Ciao, Bella.
Love and peace.
Ta-da.